somebody who speaks a lot, this isn't where I'd like to be speaking right now. For the family, I'd like to thank everybody for being here to celebrate Pop. We're very grateful for your love and support. I don't think that I've lived up to a promise Pop asked me for 30 years ago. We were attending a family friend's funeral. Stanton dropped us off at the front door. And as we waited, people were coming and going and crying, as you do at funerals. And Pop looked at me and said, "You're in charge of people not crying at my funeral." So I haven't done a good job with that. I said, "Pop, I don't think I can do that." In Pop's fashion, he said, "I don't want people crying for me because I'll be in heaven." That's where he is. I met Pop 37 years ago, and he welcomed me into the family as if I'd always been there. He always treated me like a daughter, not a daughter-in-law. Over the years, I went to him for more advice than I can count. Pop always had a way to give advice without anyone feeling like he was pushing his opinion on you. He was steadfast and faithful, loving, strong, and gentle. Pop was the epitome of a Christian man. He was there for us in the best of times. He was there for us in the darkest of times. Pop was everyone's safe place in the family. With Pop, you never doubted you were loved. He didn't only tell you, he showed you every step of the way. He left a legacy to his family. And I could not have handpicked a better example for my boys. Pop was far more than a father-in-law to me. He was my dad and my friend. I know on Friday evening when he entered heaven and he was welcomed by Jesus with the words, "Well done, good and faithful servant." I'm the luckiest daughter-in-law because I was loved by Stanton Oster. I found this recently, and I think it fits perfectly of how we're all feeling. We thought of you in love today, but that's nothing new. We thought about you yesterday and days before that too. We think of you in silence. We often speak your name. Now all we have is memories and your picture in a frame. Your memory is our keepsake with which we'll never part. God has you in his keeping, and we have you in our heart. So this is not goodbye. I said, see you later.
I thought I had a few more minutes to think about this. When we got the word about a week and a half ago, Alexander and I exchanged some texts. And a lot of things came to me about Pop. I'll try to get through them for you. On the way here, I kept thinking, what am I going to say? And if I'm going to have the strength to say half of something that's worthy of Pop. Something came to my mind. It was silly, I guess. When we lived here years ago, we head out in the lake with friends, and that had boats, and I don't know rightly where it's at, but there's a rock quarry out in the water somewhere, if you know where it's at, and you get off the boat and you can walk around the quarry. And up the hill, and the water's really, really beautiful and clear. And if you've been there, you know what I'm talking about. I'm not sure we're supposed to have been there. But we'd always walk up to the top, my friends, and we would drop rocks in the water and travel way far down and hit the water. And I always liked to watch the water and how those rocks would just ripple across that whole big quarry and make an impression across that water. And it made me think about Pop. But it also brought to mind one of my favorite passages is John 3:16. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son. And whosoever believeth in him should not perish, but have everlasting life. And I've thought a lot in my life about what that really means, because it just seems too simple. And I kind of came to terms that it's God's love was so great for his people that he allowed his Son to die for our sins. And in that moment, an explosion of God's love happened. It didn't just ripple across. That moment when Christ was on the earth, but that ripple of God's love rippled across eternity. And I think it was much greater. God's love was much greater than all the wonderful things that he did. Yes, he performed a lot of miracles, but what really helped pass his love through eternity was his love for us and his forgiveness of us and his selflessness of us. So that kind of brings me to Howard Stanton Oster, who's only been in our lives for 30-something years. I tried to figure out the exact number, but I think it's close to 32 or 33. And the impression that he's made on our lives. And I could say the easy part was all the wonderful things that he did for us. He attended my kids' ballet and baseball. I even remember when, shortly after my mom and pop got married, he came to help me build a deck on the back of the house. I don't think he knew a whole lot about that. But I will say he knew a little bit more about it than Al did. But he stuck it out, and we had a whole lot of work to do because I over-engineered the whole thing. But he even asked me, why do you need such a big deck for such a small house? I said, it's for a whole lot of people. We're going to have a lot of fun. You know? So Pop and Mom helped a bit. We started on that deck, the over-engineered deck, and he stayed on, and I think you guys were supposed to leave a little early. Not sure what he missed for staying another week, but he stayed until the foundation of that deck was in place. I'm sure we all got dozens of stories about Pop. And I've got a lot more I could share. I was told I was only given 2 minutes, and I think I've run a little past that. And if I asked everybody to raise their hands, where Pop has touched somebody's life, I'm sure everyone would raise their hand. And it's because it's not just the ripple of God's love that passes by us. It's the ripple of God's love that absorbed in each one of us. And it definitely took a hold of Pop. And that love has changed many of us. And it will pass along well past our time through my kids and their kids. And I think that's really why God's love ripples across eternity, because it soaks in special people like Pop, and it never stops. And I'm happy for my family to have him as a small part of our lives, and I'm sure you are too.